To commemorate the release of the Simgot EA500 LM, I tried every single Simgot IEM for you to know which one you should get. This is the ultimate Simgot guide. But first, talking about the history of Simgot, Simgot was founded in 2015 and advocates for the ultimate product and perfect service while fusing old technology and new innovation. You may know them for the sets like the Simgot EM700 Pro from all the way back, or the EM200, but today we are going to be talking about their more recent releases. And for the releases, there is a sort of distinct sound. So let's talk about their house sound, which is leaning towards a more bright-leaning Harman-styled tuned IEMs. It's not Harman like exactly per se. There's a little bit more of a mid-bass bump. Sometimes it's also a bit less sub-bass emphasis, but generally, especially in the upper mid section, the distinction with Harman is very similar, but they do have their own Simgot Classic Target and the new 2023 Simgot Target that was revealed in the Simgot EA1000. So let's talk about the IEMs, starting with the most budget set that they have, the Simgot EW100 or 100p or 100 DSP. There's a lot of EW100s in this section, but it's the EW100 series of IEMs. Now, the EW100 goes by the name of Shark, which is going to be a very common theme as we see further out in this video, and this is priced at $20 or $23 for the DSP version, and it is a single dynamic driver LCP-DD. Now, for the build, this is relatively cheap. It is $20 after all, and it has a sort of nice, sort of minimalistic style with a small circle aluminum faceplate, but overall it is a very small, very compact, and very ergonomic IEM in terms of fitting. Also in terms of aesthetics, it's very, very chill, very small, very calm design. There's nothing really popping out despite its rather scary moniker, the Shark. But obviously, let's talk about the sound. And the sound for this, well, this is honestly really good for $20. I know this was in the conversation back in the day with the whole 7Hz Zero and the Warner, but I personally believe this is one of the, it should be up there with them. It has a somewhat neutral tune based on the Harman 2016 Target. There's a very clean, tight, but still decently impactful bass. The mids are really clean and neutral as well, and the treble is surprisingly sparkly without really ever getting too harsh or sibilant. And this is still honestly one of my favorite budget-oriented sets in its entirety of its package. It's also the tamest Simgot in terms of brightness, and you'll find out very soon why that is. The DSP variant follows the 2019 version, on the other hand. It is more thicker and a lot more fun with a more tactile based presentation, but follows a very similar technical ability to the Simgot EW100 or the EW100p. And if you're curious, the difference between the EW100p and the EW100 is that the EW100 doesn't come with detachable cable, while the EW100p comes with a detachable cable. Now, for genres, I really like listening to classical, jazz, and vocal pop here due to its more neutral tuning, basically balancing out the entire frequency range more than the other sets that we'll be talking about later, but this is something that excels in a more flatter, neutral kind of listening experience. Now, you should get this if you're looking for a budget, neutral sounding IEM with a decent low end and treble extension, if you want something small, something comfortable fitting, and you want to get an idea of the Simgot house sound. Now, speaking of the Simgot house sound, we're going to get into it in a much closer sense with the Simgot EW200 The Maze. Now, this is a $40 SCP single dynamic driver, which is their mixture of the LCP and the DLC diaphragm to, I guess, provide the best of both worlds, as they would say. Now, this has a very similar looking shape and fitting as the EW100p, but instead, this is built of a much more premium and much more durable zinc alloy, or kind of metallic alloy, that makes it considerably more premium feeling, and just overall for $40, absolutely insane. You would think this is like $100 even. Now for the sound, this is the EW100P, but considerably more extended and brighter, more energetic and more fun. And it's almost hard to argue that this IEM has basically defined the latter half of 2023. If you look at like communities and Facebooks and Discords, you would see that the EW200 was very much well received by the community. And now it has a slight U-shaped sound signature following the Harman 2019 target. I can't deny that this might be a little bit too hot for some people, and this is the theme of the Simgot tune. This is the brighter leaning, the very forward upper mid-range and treble region that Simgot is very much known for. And if you're not liking that, well, too bad. But if you are willing to try out brighter leaning sets, well, that's the Simgot house on for you. Now for genres, this is an extremely versatile IEM. It is considerably more fun than the EW100P, so pop, hip-hop, R&B, vocal pop, those genres I loved listening to on the EW100P. So you would get this because you want some of the best technicalities and musicality balance for probably under $50, maybe even $100. And if you want a brighter leaning balanced kind of sound and you want an upgrade from the EW100 series of IEMs, the EW100P is an absolutely fantastic deal for $40 and is a must get if you're looking for something like that. Now moving on to the next IEM in the price range, this is the Simgot EA500. This is the set that arguably started it all. This was the hype of the month, the flavor of the month. This is basically their, I would say, even most famous set to date, in my opinion. But obviously, a lot of people I've seen in forums and stuff like that, that it's been surpassed by another set that we'll be talking about. But this set was the one that got me falling in love with Simgot. Absolutely. This is $79, single DLC dynamic driver, and it is a stark difference compared to the EW100 and EW200 in terms of aesthetics. This is considerably more rounded. It's larger as well, and it also features, and this is the first of it, interchangeable nozzles. And yes, it does have modding capabilities because Simgot allowed for modding through their own like small modding pack that they sold on AliExpress. I'll put a link down in the description. Check it out if you do have a Simgot EW or EA500 or you want to get one and have a modding kit on hand. It is very premium feeling. It honestly feels like it's 3 times its price. I know a lot of people have said that. People have held the EA500, thought that it was like under $200, $300 because of how premium it feels, but that's $79. Amazing build, fantastic. I love it. And as for the sound, this is the mix of new Simgot sound and the old Simgot sound. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, in the olden days, they didn't really follow much of the Harman target back then. They were more closely following their own Simgot classic target, which had, you know, tamer bass presentation, while a little bit more of a spicy treble presentation. And the EA500 takes the bass presentation, the calmer, more dynamic, more mid-ranged focus bass of the older sets, but also smoothing it out with a Harman style upper mid-range that is still on the hotter side. It's still definitely not for treble sensitives or shout sensitives, but this takes it a notch down that makes it considerably more balanced sounding than their older sets. And technicalities are also fantastic on this. This is one of the things that made it blow up back in the day, where it was just like an absolutely insane deal for $79 for its build, its sound, its technicalities, and the fact that you get interchangeable nozzles with the IEM, which is, you know, at that time wasn't very common at all. You know, it's only recently that we've gotten a surge of like people or companies offering interchangeable nozzles on their IEMs, which is, you know, it's for the better or worse, but I think that it was a wonderful time, and moddability is the best in these kinds of IEMs, and the EA500, I guess, kind of pushed it into the market. So yeah, I really like listening to jazz, vocal pop, and funk on this. The mid-bass emphasis, as well as the upper mid-range and the treble being that forward, gives this somewhat like a bright, warm sound signature that I absolutely love. And the mid-bass is just so punchy and textured and just so nice to listen to. especially when contrast to those upper mids. So I absolutely love this IEM for those genres. So why would you buy this IEM? Well, if you're looking for a resolving, detailed, and bright set with tuning versatility on the nozzles and an insanely well-built and comfortable IEM overall. And now moving to the next in the price bracket and one of their newer sets, arguably, this is the Simgot EM6L, the Phoenix. Now the Phoenix is a price above the EA500 as you'd expect. It is $109, and this is our first foray into their hybrid series. Yes, the EM series, I'm not sure the validity of this is not really confirmed, but in their previous sets, their EM2R was also a hybrid set, and this is also a hybrid set featuring one dynamic driver and 4 balanced armatures. And this is, yeah, absolutely their first set that I've tried that was a hybrid. So this was very exciting when I got to try it. And for the build, this was definitely a step down from all of their IEMs. They went back to the resin inner shell with an aluminum faceplate. It was very nice, it was very clean, but it did feature a QDC connector, but for a good reason. They really wanted to cram all those drivers into that tiny shell. And if you've seen the picture of Eric Collab on Facebook, I'll put a picture on the screen right now, you can see everything is jam-packed. And if you put a 2-pin cable or a 2-pin connector there, it really wouldn't have fit. So, well be damned, the QDC connector was needed there. The build was definitely on the cheaper side. I wasn't really a fond of it, and the nozzle didn't have the lips, so tips came off really quickly, but obviously Clarence saved the day, and the Clarence were absolutely amazing on the EM6L. But yeah, it's on the cheaper side, not really that premium feeling, but that's for a reason, because when we talk about sound, this is the most U-shaped, most fun-sounding Simgot IEM. And if you're like me, when you saw the graphs of the EM6L, you would have also been absolutely dumbfounded to see how smooth that treble was. They really did something with the treble of the EM6L, because even when listening to it, it sounds equally just as smooth, and it's absolutely wonderful. There's a decent amount of bass emphasis, a lot of treble emphasis as well, and is one of the most coherent and refined sounding hybrids that I've heard in this price range. And it's insane how they were able to pull that off. It's a very, very nicely balanced but still very coherent hybrid sounding set. Now, it's not the most technical, it is not the most, I guess, capable sounding IEM, but it's also one of the most well-balanced and all-rounder in the entirety of Simgot's lineup. And that moves me to the genres, which is honestly anything. Literally, you put this into hip-hop, the bass is gonna be there, it's not gonna be overblown, it's not gonna be a bass headset, but it's going to be there, and it's gonna make you jump, it's gonna make you dance, and it's absolutely wonderful. But it's not just gonna do that, because if you want to just chill with classical, if you just want to chill with jazz, this is also a perfect set because of that upper mid-ranged emphasis that just brings out instruments in that region to just be so nice and soulful sounding. So you would want to get this if you want a well-refined hybrid IEM with superb tonal balance, a well-rounded sound with decent enough technicalities, and a lightweight and comfortable build. But now we start moving to the big boys. Yes, this is the upgrade to the EA500. This is the Simgot EA1000 Fermat's Theorem, and this is a big jump in price from $109 to $219. But that's for a reason. This is running their I still don't know how to pronounce it. I'll just put my everything you need to know here. Watch my video there, and me saying the sputter deposition purple gold dynamic dual magnetic dual cavity dynamic driver and 1 passive radiator. Yeah, that it's a very special driver. If you open up the nozzle here, oh, I spoiled it, there's tuning nozzles again, but if you open it up, you can see the different coloration of the driver itself, which is super unique. And speaking of, let's talk about the build, and this is where they come back. Simgot's back with the insanely good build quality, and you have to agree, this is probably one of the best looking Simgots to date. Obviously, we have another IEM to talk about, but this and that IEM share a very similar aesthetic together, and it is very well built, it's very aesthetically pleasing, and again, It features tuning nozzles, 3 this time compared to the 2 of the EA500, so you get more tuning choices and versatility, and it's just honestly a very wonderful setup. It's very, very fantastic. I love the aesthetics of this. I love the build of this. Again, with a, you know, fingerprint magnet and scratch prone, but that's the Simgot thing to do. It's very premium showroom style aesthetic that, you know, it's very pretty, but you gotta take care of it. And let's talk about the sound. There's a reason why this is my favorite IEM right now of all time. And it has to do with just how amazingly tuned and technical this is. This is the perfect balance of technicalities and musicality. Now, this follows a somewhat mix between the EA500's more tactile low end, while the upper mid-range is also just a little bit more engaging and more energetic as well. And you have to admit that that passive radiator is doing God's work here, because of how just so good the bass of the EA1000 is. It's so good, and it still leaves the mid-range sounding pretty neutral, although have to admit it is on the thinner side because of the upper mid-range emphasis that is absolutely fantastic. It's so sparkly. It is definitely one of the hotter Simgots in terms of treble emphasis. So treble sensitive, this is probably like the worst one to get. But for if you love treble like me, this is the best Simgot IEM that I've tried in terms of overall tonal balance. And for genres, yeah, no, obviously if you got anything vocal, perfect on this. And if you got R&B, even better, because of that bass presentation is just fantastic. Funk, jazz, absolutely amazing on the EA1000. It's just an IEM that I absolutely love listening to on every single genres, but definitely vocal pop, R&B, funk, those really shine on the EA1000. So why would you want to get the EA1000? Well, if you want one of the best neutral, bright, dynamic driver set with insane timbre for under $500. And if you want good timbre, good technicalities, and if you want the best that Simgot has to offer in terms of, you know, overall tuning and technical prowess, EA1000, absolutely. And lastly, let's talk about their flagship set. This is the Simgot EA2000 Boson, and this is the one that started it all, and this is also the oldest set in this entire roundup. This is priced at a whopping $319 and features a single 13mm dynamic driver and a passive radiator. Very similar tuning configuration to the EA1000, but this has the 13mm dynamic driver, and you will really hear it, as the bass of this, as I'll talk about later, is just absolutely insane. But first, let's talk about the build, and this has a very similar build to the EA1000, with the whole very aesthetically pleasing and absolutely stunning design. But unlike the EA1000, this features MMCX connection, and this is probably the most peculiar thing about this set, is it comes with a cable with tuning plugs. Yes, I've never heard of that before. I've never seen that before, but tuning plugs on the cable that changes the sound is absolutely peculiar, but this is just a very weird IEM overall. And talking about the sound, it is their oldest set, so this is also the most, I guess, Simgot old sounding set. And this is not to say that it is bad at all, because the bass of this thing is the best that I've heard in any IEM so far. It is just seriously so textured, so punchy, and so nuanced, unlike anything I've heard before. It's actually absolutely insane. That, however, does come at cost at a more recessed sounding mid-range, as well as the upper mid-range emphasis might be a little bit too much for some people, but it does bring out vocals and nuances very, very amazingly. And the treble is extremely resolving, extremely detailed, with amazing micro detail and nuance. It is an insanely resolving set. It is it's a flagship set, so you expect that to be like that, and it is. It really pulls through that. Definitely the tuning is definitely not for everyone, in my opinion. It is for those absolute treble heads like me who will appreciate treble this bright and so sparkly and forward. Now for genres, I absolutely loved listening to hip-hop, classical, funk. Those genres just sound absolutely amazing due to how just good that bass is. The classical features of this set as well is absolutely amazing due to the upper mid-range emphasis, bringing out pianos and violins, and those big orchestral recordings just sound absolutely amazing on this set. And funk is that kind of genre that just has so much bass nuance that in this particular set just brings it out absolutely amazingly. I absolutely loved listening to funk on the EA2000. Now you would want to get the EA2000 if you want a tactile, resolving, and extremely detailed listening experience. If you're a big treble head like me, and if you want to experience Simgot's flagship set. And now to finally conclude this little guide overview of Simgot's set, besides the EA500 LM that's just about to come out, the EW100P is your budget entry into the Simgot sound. It's neutral, it's clean, it's very nice. Now the EW200 is if you want the most technical with good musicality, that is a direct upgrade from the EW100P. The EA500 is if you want vocals and if you want a very bodied and very textured and detailed bass presentation. The EM6L is the all-rounder beast. This is absolutely for every single genre that honestly you can think about. It's gonna do it really freaking well. The EA1000 is the pinnacle of the Simgot sound, and the EA2000 is their technical beast, dynamics and resolving ability well be damned. So I hope I helped. This is the ultimate Simgot guide. I really hope that you learned something from here, and let me know, what is your favorite Simgot IEM? I would love to know. I love hearing from people. I've heard so many people shill for the EM6L, but you know, people like me that still absolutely love the sound of the EA500. So let me know down in the comments below. And with that, OB Audio out.